So I got an email in my inbox, and don't ask me why I'm on this person's mailing list. I don't know. But this is the email, this is the subject line, and it just makes me face palm. So the subject line is, "New Agency Blitz allows anyone to start an agency now." And my response to this is, how is that a good thing? So obviously the idea here is, this is a business opportunity that you must get on because it's so easy, anyone can do it. And it's a bit sad. It's a bit sad this kind of thing works because, what is the market economy? How does a market work? I mean, if it's easy and anyone can do it, and it's cheap, presumably, right? It's affordable to get in. How is that a good thing? I mean, that just creates more competition. So think of it like this. Nowadays, it's very easy to take pictures. Everybody can take pictures. Everybody has a device in their pocket with which they can take pictures. And those pictures, thanks to all kinds of algorithms and stuff, are increasingly such that you can just whip it out and take a picture and it looks okay. Right? You don't really have to know what you're doing at all. And the computers inside your phone will make sure that it turns out okay. Now, is that a good thing for people who are trying to make money selling pictures? Right? The fact that anyone can do it, it's so accessible, it's so universal. Is that a good thing if you're trying to sell a photograph? Well, obviously not. And in fact, this is one of those things where it's like with the gold rush and selling shovels. Right? The ubiquity of cameras and the fact that everyone's now taking 1 billion pictures a day instead of it used to be you have one film strip with 24 pictures on it, and so you're very careful about when and where you take pictures. This is great if you're manufacturing small camera sensors and lenses and things that go into these phones, right? If you're selling the tools, that's great. But if you're someone who's trying to make money selling a photograph, it's not so great. And so when I see a headline like this where it's like, look, here's a new opportunity, super easy, a new super easy system or automation software or whatever helps you start this kind of business. To me, that is the opposite of a good opportunity. That is the kind of thing where it's an opportunity if you're the person selling the shovel, right? If you're the person selling the software that automates the thing, that's good. If you're the person using the software along with a gazillion other people all trying to do the same thing, following the same system, that is very bad news. Understanding this very basic concept of how a market economy works is, I think, useful. And I think this is often kind of the missing piece, is having this understanding of not just what is in front of me here or what might look like an opportunity, but how does this fit into like a market, an economy as a whole? How does this make sense, right? And this, for me, this email just fails at the subject line. And I didn't go and look at this thing in more detail because basically I don't need to. I know what type of thing this is. Now I'm saying all this to actually make a point about this is one of the main strategies I follow, is to do things that are difficult and to do things that most people can't or aren't willing to do. So the idea is that if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, that you have to do something exceptional. And it is a way of thinking strategically about what you're doing. No matter what your business is, no matter what the specifics are of what you are doing as an entrepreneur, you're trying to do something that gives you a competitive advantage in a field in which everyone is trying to do something that gives them a competitive advantage. That is how the market economy works. So how can you do that? Well, one of the ways you can do that is you can understand human nature, and you can understand what are things that most people are not willing to, are not able to do. And I think you can also almost simplify that down to what are most people not willing to do? Because if you're willing enough to do something, you'll find a way to be able to do it, right? But most people, in the end, it is human nature that gets in the way. This is one of the reasons why I made the Focus on Action course, and one of the reasons why productivity is such an important topic for me. Because I know that this is a stumbling block for many of my competitors. I know that among all the entrepreneurs that are out there, one of the things that is going to basically hold back my competition is their inability to work efficiently, their inability to overcome a weakness like procrastination, and most importantly, their inability to focus. Because look around, the world we live in right now is absolutely crazy when it comes to focus. We live in a totally distracted world, and I've talked about this in previous videos as well. We have, our digital environment has become an environment of just constant distraction. There's always an exciting new thing. There's always a new thing you want. There's always a new thing to pay attention to. There's the latest controversial tweet. There's the latest controversial news story. There's 1,000 notifications from 15 different apps on your phone. And a lot of the digital economy depends on capturing and then keeping people's attention. And because there's all these different players competing, what has happened is that it has basically torn our attention to pieces, and people basically don't have the ability anymore to pay attention or to focus. People also don't have the ability anymore to not be distracted. And you can watch this if you go and wait in line somewhere, for example, at a grocery store or something. Any moment someone has to wait for a second, most people reach for their phone immediately. They simply cannot stand just like being there and nothing's happening. When you know that all this stuff is happening on the internet, all these notifications are coming in. And so we have become an extremely distracted people. Now, on the one hand, I think this isn't great like for your overall life quality, and that's one reason why I try to do things differently and develop a skill of focus and develop habits that counter all this distraction. But on the other hand, I also do see it, like I said, as a potential advantage. Like me versus basically whoever else is the entrepreneur competing in my space, I know that I have that advantage because most people just don't want to. They don't want to stop checking their phone every 15 seconds. They don't want to basically unaddict themselves from this environment. And even if they try, most people will not have the systems and habits. They won't know how to do it. And so I know that if you put me in a room with my competitors, most of my competitors will be less focused than me, will be more distracted than me, and will waste more of their time with distractions on digital devices and so on. And that gives me a massive edge. All right, so that's my rant and why it is something that kind of triggers me when I see a headline like that, because it appeals to this, get a quick win without having to do any effort. But it also kind of treats its readers as idiots, right? Because you can't figure out that this might not be a good thing if everyone and their dog can start the same business you're starting. But also it does tie back into, the way I think about entrepreneurship. And I also I see this as an opportunity too, because in a sense, on one hand, it's sad that people will fall for nonsense like this. But again, in a competitive space, if you can be the exception, if you can see a headline like that, and instead of thinking, oh, this is an interesting opportunity, I should check it out, you can think, hold on, this is nonsense. This is basically the opposite of moving me towards my goals. Again, that gives you a competitive advantage. So I hope that this video has helped you see this in a different light. And I hope that, because I'm sure you get emails like this as well, right? When you get emails like this, when you see a subject line like this, or when you see this kind of typical offer like this, I hope that maybe it triggers a different sequence of thoughts in your mind than it usually would. So go and take a look at your inbox right now and share with me the stupidest headline of this kind that you can find in there, and leave a comment below with that. I'd be really interested to know what other similar subject lines are floating around in people's inboxes right now.